All right, let's talk about how you're going to actually use the grid that you've just created in order to enlarge your image. So what we want basically is for this to be a direct proportion of this drawing, whatever drawing that you're starting with. And so what we're going to do is essentially draw what is in each one of these squares, and we're going to work on enlarging it so that it's proportional to what we see here. What I would also say that might be a good idea for you is when you are setting up what you're going to be drawing within each of these squares, that you might want to consider outlining kind of the big important lines for the whole overall structure first. I'm going to show you what I mean by that. And so what I'm going to do is actually start with this line going around the outside of the queen, and it's I'm going to approximate this point. So I'm going to place just a dot here. I think this is about where this dot would be for the corner in this square. So I am going to attempt to make a level line that's going to go to the other side. And this dot, it's about here maybe. Let's see. So just when I'm looking at this, I'm going to just do the best that I can to see where these lines are. I am using my powers of observation, so I'm actually looking carefully at where the marks are made, and I'm trying to judge, all right, how far does this line go in this square? Like how far should this line go in this square, or this rectangle? I'm going to continue this line on the outside, and just as a reminder, this is extra for my work, so I don't need to use that. Right now I can just see that my ruler is pretty parallel with the edge of the paper, so I feel comfortable with placing it here. I'm going to draw this line until I think I get to this corner. And again, I'm just guessing just because I haven't actually measured that. And for this case, that is fine. I'm going to do this again on the bottom, try to make my line level. So when you guys are doing this, you might not have anything that needs straight lines, and if that's the case, that's fine. I'm just talking to y'all about how to find like the big important lines to sort of help you break up the space. So what I've just placed is this blue rectangle going all the way around, and let's think about how I would actually approach drawing the queens, because that is actually that's taking up most of the space. So when I am drawing, I like to begin with things that are big, easy, and or important. And so what that means is, all right, this line around the edge is big, easy, and important. I'm going to do the same thing with, I think I'm going to go with her hair next. And so let's actually see where this is placed in the card, in the grid. So it's kind of in this in this third block, and to me it looks like it's about halfway. This line starts about halfway. So I'm going to make a mark here, and I'm going to say, all right, I think her hair is going to begin about here, and it's going to go in a diagonal, and it's at about that angle. So I'm going to do that there. I also see that I'm not really sure what to call this. I guess it's some kind of like a headdress or hair, her cape, not a cape. Okay, so anyways, here is this line here. It is relatively straight. I might actually use a ruler to make sure it's not so bent. And okay, now I have placed this line here. Because it is kind of it does have a thickness, I'll go ahead and add that. As I can see, it's larger on the bottom and it gets smaller on the top, so I can use my ruler again to place that. When I have this, okay, so now I have an idea for where I should place not only this yellow portion, but also her hair, also a little bit of her face, and then maybe even her dress. Let's continue with these big important things, and I think I'll actually go ahead and draw this line for the face. So I can judge from the grid that I have that the face is pretty close to the edge of this line at the top. So I can say, all right, there's a mark here to tell me where to begin. And I can also see that the face is pretty straight and it curves kind of inward. I'm going to shoot for making a line around here. One thing that I think can be helpful is like drawing lines right around corners. And so what that means is I can see easily like which angle to draw this chin at. Before I forget, I'll go ahead and just connect this here. We can look here and see, okay, it's pretty straight, and then, but it sort of curves in towards the chin. All right. Again, what I'm just talking you guys through this process of how I'm looking at what I'm seeing and making it, drawing it in proportion on the gridded paper. So what I'm working on now is this portion. I wonder what we should call this. Maybe the ears or the lace. I don't know. I'm just being a little silly, but okay. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna basically continue adding on to the queen in this way. I think I'll just go ahead and for funsies and just put her hair in. And what I am just doing is I am slowly filling in the structure for this person, this drawing. Now, if you guys are sitting down to do this and you're thinking like, I would just prefer to draw one entire square at a time, that would be okay. If you are a person that wants to do that, what I would suggest is that you start like from the top left corner and just work your way to the side and then down, or however makes sense to you. I would pick one place to start and then kind of continue forward from there. Even if you're doing things like letters, wait, I'm going to try to place this heart. So again, I'm using my grid lines. This is going to go, it's curving out, it almost touches this, and it comes down. It does not quite go, it doesn't quite fill up this whole space. The heart does not quite all fit in the white space. Okay, so I'm drawing this here, and we want to try to make sure it is proportional. Okay, which I think is fine. This will be interesting. So when I'm doing my letters, I want them to also be drawn accurately. So what I want to do is actually just make sure that the lines that I'm drawing reflect the lines that I'm seeing on the card. And this is something you should be working on as you are doing your own scale drawing. Just what I'm thinking is that it's a little bit, sometimes it can be a little harder to slow down to draw letters as we see them in print, but they are kind of artistic in certain settings. All right, so I'm just adding a little bit of bulk to this. What I am intending on doing is finishing this drawing in pencil, and then once I finished it in pencil, what I will do is outline and then erase what I don't need. But when you all are working on this, I would also encourage you to use a pencil, because there will probably be times when you need to erase. Just keep in mind that when you're doing this, you want to make sure that your what you're drawing on your grid is proportional, is similar to what you're looking at for reference. So you need to be looking at this a lot. Whatever you're choosing to use for this this reference image, this is what is going to tell you exactly how to draw everything. So you want to just make sure that you can see it easily, and that you are checking it frequently. Okay, so I'm looking at this, and I'll just say I'm going to go ahead and fix that. It's always okay to edit something that you're making, but while you are working, probably something you will need to challenge yourself to do is to you have to learn when not to worry about it anymore. So anyways, I wish you luck. By the end of the day, probably tomorrow, you should have all of your lines drawn.